Okay. Um, we're just waiting for one more council member, so um, we'll check him in when he gets here. All right. Now we can move on to chairperson announcements. I don't have any announcements tonight. Do any of the council members have an announcement? David?
Yeah, just part of my my other role is this a new county parks commissioner. When I met with Bruce Gibson and Jim D'Antona a few weeks ago, and they put me in touch with the heads of the community advisory councils for North Coast, which is Cambria and San Simeon, and then also Cayucas, who I met with just to talk about their parks issues. But in the process of having those discussions, it was also apparent that we community advisory committees, councils, share some common interests, but also operate in a little bit different way. And we thought it would actually be useful to get together and compare notes on how we do things. So I'm trying to set up a little follow-up meeting for that. The other parks information is that the Parks Department is getting close to release a draft of the new parks master plan for public comment, which will start September 1st to the 30th. And there'll be a couple of outreach meetings related to that. And I think it'll be good to get lots of comment on that.
Yeah. Hey, great. Thank
Deborah
you,
actually
David.
had a quick announcement.
Sure. Andrea, go ahead.
In October, probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was a Fish and Game Commission hearing on three marine protected areas that are proposed for outside our county, or in the waters of our county as well as Santa Barbara County. And I would just say that there was no decision made in August, and marine protected areas are a pretty involved issue, but I would say that it's really important to educate yourself about those proposed marine protected areas. The final decision will be made at the Fish and Game Commission meeting in October. So between now and October, I would say go on the website, a Fish and Game Commission, take a look at what's proposed, and hopefully make a public comment.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Andrea. That's very interesting. Did not know about that. Any other council member announcements? Don't see any. Okay, great. So I don't see the sheriff here, and Highway Patrol won't be reporting until October. So that brings us to Supervisor Gibson, who I think did. There you are. Okay, go ahead.
I showed up. I
You
was
did.
just trying to get to my notes to figure out what all is going on. It has not been a huge um, there's not a huge amount to report for LOCAC in particular, but let me see what I got down here. There are going to be a few things on next week's agenda that relate to Los Osos. I was just putting together my newsletter today and finish it tomorrow. There's CSA 9I, which is the Fire and Medical Response Area east of town, has got its annual CPI increase according to the rate structure in place. There's an appeal of a land use project at Santa Maria and Second that's going to go on. And there's, in a wider sense, there's a conversation, really preliminary conversation about desalination. And so the county a couple of years ago had started the process of looking into what the possibilities and the possible interest would be in a regional desal plant. They looked at a variety, I think a total of more than a dozen sites up and down the coast, looked at where the geology was conducive, looked at where the infrastructure already in place would be advantageous, found five that they looked at a little more closely. One's up Cambria for basically Cambria or San Simeon, the combination of Cambria and San Simeon. One's at the old Chevron Estero Marine Terminal where there's infrastructure in place that could be repurposed for brine disposal, and there's connections to other infrastructure like the Whale Rock pipeline, and the Cayuga Sanitary District is there, and then looked at one at Morro Bay with the possibility of connecting to a wider range of distribution. So what they did is they went through and looked at the feasibility of these various sites. They did some very rough estimates of cost. I happened to note in a footnote the rough order of magnitude estimate is anywhere from twice as much as it might cost to half as much as it might cost, and it costs a lot, hundreds of millions of dollars. The question then is, does it make sense as an augmentation? Because the per acre foot cost of desalinated water, not surprisingly, is a few times that of the water that we use already. At this point, there's no at all any decisions going forward, but just this is the opening salvo in understanding what we're looking at as possibilities, and the question next to be answered is which of the many jurisdictions and water agencies up and down the county might be interested in this. And we're going to need to figure out how to fund further work on this. We are years, if not decades, from any potential project, if a desal project in fact makes sense. It's not at all determined at this point. But given the overall water resiliency issues and the need to insure ourselves against drought and the variability of storms that do provide groundwater, particularly important to Los Osos, it's an important first step. So we'll be discussing that on Tuesday. So with that, I think that's that's relatively relevant to Los Osos, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Bruce. Yeah, I have a question. So when you're comparing desalinization costs, including the building out of the infrastructure, to nitrate removal cost, I know desal, we're talking regional, nitrate removal, I'm basically looking at our local water source, our water basin is contaminated with nitrates. How would you compare the costs between, I mean, in both cases, you need to get rid of the waste.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
can you give us an idea of what the difference would be between nitrate removal and desalinization?
Well, so think of nitrate removal as a subset specific case of desalination. What they're talking about in this instance is desalinating seawater. And looking at that on a regional scale, at scale, anywhere from a few hundred acre feet per year to various water suppliers to 6 or 7 thousand acre feet per year. And so there's that scale. One of the shortcomings of this report, or one of the limitations of this particular report, is that it doesn't do a very complete job of comparing that source to smaller scale sources like the denitrification of water in Los Osos, like things like direct potable reuse, which is an emerging technology that holds some promise down the line. It makes a passing attempt to compare that cost to other water projects that have been under consideration and again, we're looking countywide. So one of that's under consideration is there's Salinas Reservoir, which is also known as Santa Margarita Lake. That dam was constructed with the ability to add floodgates that would raise its level 19 feet. That would add some over 1,600 acre feet a year of yield to that reservoir. And the question is, what's that cost versus the cost of that? The costs per acre foot of desalination in this report range from about $9,000 per acre foot to over to nearly $25,000 per acre foot. And in the first blush, that's ridiculous, right? Because um, the water that we use right now is in the $1,000 to $2,000 per acre foot range. So some of these might get eliminated on financial feasibility down the line, but the point was to study what it looks like. Some of the project proposals, which are basically broad ideas as to how this might happen and where these plants might be sited, need to be refined if we're going to move forward. We did a study of the cost of denitrifying upper aquifer water in Los Osos, and I believe that came in more in the range of between $1,000 and $2,000 an acre foot, which put it in there. I'd have to look. I've got a report here on my iPad. I could dive in and have a look, but from memory, the cost of denitrifying water was very much in the ballpark of costs that we're familiar with. So the question yet to be determined is how important is an extra supply of desalinated water to the overall stability of the county-wide water system. And again, I want to emphasize that this study is a very, very small step on a very long road that studies and further consideration are going to take years, perhaps decades, before anything concrete comes of it. But it is something that the county, working with a grant we got from the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation for about $1 million, felt it was important to get out on the table so we can discuss it. And whether any of this goes forward or not remains to be seen.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. Okay, Andrea, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, yeah, just a quick question. Bruce, is the appeal on the corner of Santa Maria and Second, is that a residential unit?
It's a mixed use commercial. It's
Oh, is right across from
Merrymaker.
it's the
oh,
empty lot. It's the
gotcha.
Benson lot that's right across
Okay.
from the Merrymaker. Yep.
All right. Yeah, the one that's okay. I thought so. Thank you.
Yep.
Molly, your hand's up.
Yeah, I just had a question about what exactly is being appealed on it.
There's concerns about parking, concerns about incompatibility of land use. It's a commercial property that sits fairly close to a residential neighborhood. There's passing concern about the water consumption, but as
Okay.
I scanned the staff report yesterday, it was mostly compatibility and parking issues.
Okay. And do you know who filed the appeal, or is that public information?
Oh, it's public information. Let me.
Was the sustainable group, I believe. No, I think it was a
No,
couple of citizens.
it's a couple of private citizens. Let me look here.
Molly, we land use reviewed this project. It's the Benson
No,
project.
I know the project. I just didn't
Okay.
know anything about the appeal.
Linda and Richard Riedel.
Oh, okay.
Oh, interesting.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, do I have any other council members who want to ask Supervisor Gibson a question? If not, I'll go on to the public. Right, I don't see any, so I'll ask Tom to unmute himself and go ahead with your question.
Hello, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Bruce, for talking about desalination. I read the feasibility study and have been keeping a pretty close eye on that. Given this feasibility study was rather limited in scope in terms of desalination technologies, do you think there is any possibility for a broader feasibility study regarding more emergent or possibly cheaper or more energy efficient technologies for desalination? As someone young enough to see the fruits of this decades long project,
Hey,
I
I'm,
am
young- I'm
very
young
advocating
enough
for
to
it.
see the fruits. I'm going to hang in there. I've got to see the fruits and the opening of the Bob Jones Trail and the Morro Bay to Cayucas connector. Um, the short answer is yes. In my mind, there has to be that comparative feasibility. This is all traditional reverse osmosis desal that's being studied, which is fine. I mean, that's a good place to start. But when you look, just take a for example, the scale of what's needed in Cambria and San Simeon, one or more of the proposals proposes to put in 20 or 30 miles of pipe to take desalinated water all the way up the coast. And you look at the cost estimates, which run into the tens of millions, in one case over $100 million just for the pipe. You go, well, is that going to make sense at the volumes that isolated communities up that far up the North Coast are going to do? So that's actually one of the use cases I was talking to somebody about, that there are emerging technologies, as you call them, buoys and seafloor installations that work off the ocean's energy to do the work that otherwise would be electrified. And at the scale that's needed in a small coastal community, maybe that makes the most sense. Cuts down on the delivery infrastructure and potentially the brine disposal. So that's your characterization of this as limited is absolutely accurate. I mean, a huge report, 250 pages or something like that, but it's 244 pages, but it lays the landscape, and it lets those agencies that are interested in pursuing resiliency and reliability of their water supply to consider this as an option. Again, it's going to take years to see if this makes any sense. Analysis in there that to me is extremely um, I don't know what to call it, basic. There's a number of the assumptions of that I uh, I have questions about, but it's trying to make the case under what circumstances would desal be a cost-effective solution. And again, that determination is years from being made.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions for Supervisor Gibson? I'm not seeing any hands up, so we'll move on to Mason. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Yeah, good evening, Miss Howe.
Ooh, sis.
Uh, First, thank you for providing the agenda. I had trouble accessing the agenda this evening.
Oh, you bet.
The video's on.
And so I don't have an update. I've noticed there's no consent items from the Land Use Committee on the agenda. So I will be out of here shortly. I'll stick around for any questions that there may be. I need to go pick up my stepson from soccer. I think Mr. Cheney or Cheney beat me to it.
Yeah.
Awesome. He beat me to it. The one thing that I did have was that our senior planner, our parks development manager with county parks, did reach out to our liaisons and provided a little blurb. I'll be forwarding that to you. I just received it yesterday, so I did not have time to compose the email with all the appropriate attachments, but he hit the nail on the head. There's a public review draft of the county's statewide Parks and Recreation Master Plan, and that'll be available for public comment throughout the month of September. That would be September 1st to the 30th. That plan provides a roadmap for the future of your county parks, trails, campgrounds, lakes, and recreation programs. Obviously, community input is strongly encouraged. There will be 2 informational workshops held virtually. The dates on those are September 1st and September 9th. The hours on September 1st are 6 to 7 p.m. And the hours on September 9th will be 12 to 1 p.m. Advanced registration is required. It's a little short notice, but event details and registration information will be available with the outreach materials. I will forward those to Miss Howe no later than tomorrow, and I'll try to get to it in the morning so they can be disseminated in case any of you guys would like to attend the first meeting on September 1st. That's all I have. Stick around for questions. Thank you.
Sure. All right, Andrea, I see your hands up.
Thanks, Mason. Just a quick question. I know you're not an attorney, but you are a planner, so that's pretty close. The Anastasi project, I think there's some confusion in the community as to whether or not and how that could come back. And I think the basic question that people have asked me is, does it start from scratch or do they go in, halfway with something? Can you answer that?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I cannot provide probably an answer that you would be satisfied with. I can give you kind of a mixed bag answer. So I don't have the full scope. We were relayed something this week. You may be even more familiar with me. I know there was another court decision that essentially, I believe, struck down the map. And so, at least from my understanding, it would have to be a new project with a new map. Um, there are also potential complications there because the LOHCP wouldn't cover any new parcels that would be created as the result of a new subdivision. But I don't have the history on Anastasi. Some of our staff do. So let me follow up with them tomorrow and I will forward an email to Miss Howe. And if it's any different than the information that I've just relayed, I will let her know.
Okay. That would be great. And then there was another question about, whether or not that decision could be appealed. So, thank you very much.
That I cannot comment on, but I'll let you know. Thanks.
Thanks.
I'll jump in real quickly. Mason doesn't have the history because it predates his birth, I think. It's a long running saga. The appeals court, Superior Court decision that struck down the map. There is an appeal path to the Supreme Court and the question of California Supreme Court and the question of whether California Supreme Court will take it as a case or not is unknown at this point. But I think the applicants are considering their options there. But everything else, Mason's right that if anything is to move forward there, it starts from scratch.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I think Mason, you're off the hook for more information unless there's something super, super pivotal that we can't live without until next time.
Awesome. Thank you, Supervisor Gibson.
Mhm. Good question, Andrea. Thank you for that. Do we have any other questions for Mason? From the council? I don't see any. Do we have any questions from the public for Mason before he takes off?
It looks like John has a question,
Oh,
Deborah.
John, did you put your hand up? Oh, you have to unmute
You're
yourself.
muted.
You have to unmute yourself. There you go.
I feel a lot better unmuted. So sorry I'm late, but I came in just at the moment that you guys were talking about desal, and I had a similar sense that the big study that the county is doing sort of stuck the small buoy technology way in the back and hardly addressed it. And the whole idea, what I've noticed in the press when they talk about the desal program is the immense cost. And you'll have the taxpayer just saying, hey, this is just too expensive. Let's forget about it. And then when you say it's 30 years away, they all roll their eyes as well. So I I would like that study, which I think you could still modify to address some of the new technology that doesn't require miles of pipeline and that has a lot of promise for the small communities. And so, anyway, what can I say? That's my bottom line, and I encourage Supervisor Gibson to pursue the idea that we need to be able to afford this technology.
All right. Thank you, John.
Sure.
Anybody else? Don't see any other hands. Then we'll move on to the CSD report. Chris Womack is here from the CSD.
Hello. We didn't have a whole lot on the agenda for our meeting last at the beginning of the month, but we did approve a letter to the county. The county is proposing an in lieu fee as an alternative to the Title 19 required plumbing retrofits. And so we're writing a letter with other purveyors supporting a study on the proposed water resiliency intertie project. And we did have, I also chair emergency services. We had a really great presentation by Baxter Boynton or Boyington, who I think is on here. But he was telling us how to set up Firewise communities, which I think we're all concerned about fire. So CSD is like, it's supposed to be community up. CSD can facilitate, but we can't like do it. But if you were interested in setting up like a Firewise community in your neighborhood, you basically talked to Baxter Boyington. So anyway, that's all. I don't really have a lot. We're kind of working on the park in the background, but I can't really talk much about what's going on. But it's moving
All right.
along.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Mr. Boynton, I do hope you're going to speak a little bit during public comment because we would like to hear more about the Firewise. Um, but I do have a question about the in lieu fee. My understanding, Chris, is that this in lieu fee would be for what they call new water only. In other words, like intertie water, and would not necessarily apply to bringing in recycled water to Sunnyside Park, which
I
is
think you're
about a
right.
$300,000 project to convert the potable water there, watering the grassy fields, to recycled water, such as been done at Monarch Grove Elementary and the community park. So I just want to know, you may not know the answer. Maybe Supervisor Gibson, if he's still here, knows the answer of why we wouldn't be able to use the in lieu fee for that project.
Oh,
Well, I'll defer to Christine if she'd like to take it, but I can also give you the rundown on that.
oh no, go ahead, Bruce.
Okay. So Title 19, as you know, is the 2-to-1 retrofit requirement for any new development still in place. And what we're finding is that the targets of places that need retrofits where people can gain credits are getting few and far between. It's a voluntary program, meaning that the owners of these higher water use fixtures don't have to accept a retrofit if they don't want to. And so those who are seeking credit for doing the retrofit are finding it increasingly difficult. So the county is looking for opportunities to save water in other ways rather than these fixture by fixture retrofits. And what's out is a nexus study. So that's going to be a broad-based study of what kinds of projects could actually improve the water supply of the Los Osos Basin, and what kind of nexus is connected with a fee that would be charged for folks seeking to develop, so that they could fund these projects. And there's a wide range, and hooking Sunnyside up to recycled water is an excellent example of that. That's a project that would make sense. It would save, I think it's on the order of 10 or 12 acre feet of water a year, which makes some sense. The letter from the water purveyors indicated their prime interest in improving the water supply in Los Osos is working on the CSD's intertie project. That's great. That's a 300 acre foot potential augmentation, which is fantastic. Upper aquifer denitrification is another potential 300 acre foot per year augmentation. And so those are also possibilities of where in lieu fees might contribute. But the study, which is not going to be a long matter, I think it wraps up within less than 60 days now, is going to look at all of this, decide what kind of fees would need to be charged and how it would be administered. We don't want to, if we're going to do this on an in lieu fee basis, we're gonna not just collect fees. We want to see water actually saved or water actually augmented. So that's the nuts and bolts of doing it, and we'll know yeah, probably late this year, where whatever the next steps are going to be.
Great. Okay, thank you. Good answer to my question. I appreciate that. Andrea, your hand I see is up.
Chris, are you comfortable letting us know if the CSD is in fact looking for another board member due to maybe no one applying? Are you comfortable talking about that?
Um, I am comfortable talking about it. I mean, not so much I think we're on the lookout for people in, I think it's District 2.
Yeah.
You know anyone that lives in that district that would be a good fit to serve on the board, please put them forward. Or if any of you are interested, please apply.
Thanks. I like the public service announcement. It's perfect.
Great.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Appreciate that opportunity.
All right.
Think
Who's
too.
next? Molly?
Oh, um, I got my question answered already. Thanks.
Okay, great. David?
Yeah, I was just curious if the Nexus study would also look at addressing some of the runoff issues or the possibility of, holding ponds to capture more rainwater to let it get down into the aquifer rather than running off in storms, both in Los Osos as well as perhaps in the, Los Osos Creek watershed.
I don't know if those are specifically being studied. The question there is how much, a pond of a certain size, how much water is it expected to provide as augmentation to the water supply? That's a geotechnical issue, and I think
Mhm.
there's probably some work that might be adapted. It may be a little more analysis than this Nexus study applies, but any project that augments water supply or conserves water would certainly be potentially eligible. I would put the likelihood of stormwater capture as less than more direct approaches of denitrification or use of recycled water. We've studied that pretty heavily already.
Okay,
All right.
thanks.
I don't see any other council member questions. Do we have any questions from the public on the CSD report? Don't see anything, so we'll move on. I don't think anyone's here from the chamber, so I'll open it up to public comments for items not on the agenda. Baxter, there you are. Okay,
Hello,
you have
greetings
3 minutes.
everyone. Baxter Boynton. I'm with the San Luis Obispo Fire Safe Council. What a title. I'm the focus group coordinator, and I get to work countywide helping people start firewise communities. And we've been having a lot of interest countywide. In fact, we right now have 19 firewise communities and about 10 that are working on their applications. We've always had a strong interest in Los Osos. Last time we did our free chipping program, I think we had 155 participants. We got a lot of material out of Los Osos. Um, we have some opportunities now with a new CAL FIRE chief. Chief Josh Lorenzo. We've got a new CSD director. A lot of people are really interested in supporting and growing Firewise communities. The challenge is that they are volunteer, grassroots, grow from the ground up organizations. So we're looking for people that are interested in the community that want to come out, find out about Firewise communities. It's easy to form them and a lot of great benefits. And I'll come to anybody's kitchen table and chat about it.
All right, Baxter, thank you so much. Just a quick note, Cabrillo Estates is a Firewise
Correct.
community,
Yep.
and you can find out more from the Cabrillo Estates Property Owners Association, how they like it.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Are there any other public comments? Did I miss anybody? Don't see anything. Okay. So we don't have any items for our consent agenda. We'll move to our regular agenda where we have a very interesting presentation. Let's see, Carolyn, I'm going to make you co-host
Okay.
because I believe you probably have some
A little slide deck, yeah.
Yeah, a little slide deck you're going to share with us. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me tonight, making space on your agenda. I'm Carolyn Berg. I know some of you from my prior life working for the county. I've since then started Coble Collaborative. I'm a local business owner and I help out with community engagement. So tonight I'll be talking about a conservation planning project on Diablo Canyon lands. You okay with me jumping in, Deborah?
Sure, go right
Okay.
ahead.
All right, let me go ahead and pull up my slides. And because I can't multitask while I'm presenting, I'm also going to drop something in the chat that relates to later on in the presentation. Um, all right, let's see. Can you see my screen?
Yep. Yep.
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Thanks. All right. Well, again, yeah, thanks for having me. So tonight I asked Ms. Howe if I could come and talk to you about the State Coastal Conservancy's Diablo Canyon Lands Conservation Planning Project. And it's kind of twofold. So the state is running this process that with a multiple consulting firms helping them on different aspects of this long-term planning effort. My role is around, like I said, community engagement and supporting their efforts there. So I'll answer all your questions tonight as best I can, and similar to others on the call, anything I can't answer, I can take back to the state and the broader technical team. But tonight, what I wanted to do was twofold. One, kind of tell you about the project to the extent you're maybe not aware. I know there's so many conversations around Diablo happening at the same time. So I wanted to just give you a little bit of background on what this project is, distinct from those others. And then at the end, I'll tell you about the kickoff community workshop we're doing on September 23rd and tell you how you can sign up. So a little bit of a twofold on this one, but should be less than 15 minutes, so I'll be out of your hair soon. Um, Let me see if I can move forward. Okay, so let's start off with what the project is. So like I said, this is being run by State Coastal Conservancy, which is separate. It's the sister agency to the Coastal Commission, who you probably work with more often or are familiar with. But SEC is leading the long-term planning for the future of the 12,000 acres surrounding the power plant, looking at what's possible in terms of balancing the natural and cultural resource protection with potential appropriate public access, looking at how to center tribal priorities, so talking with local tribes about what their hopes and concerns are for the lands, and then as I mentioned, kind of looking for how would it be appropriate to expand public access into these lands. And then finally, a big process for the near term too is looking at potential acquisition of Wild Cherry Canyon, which I'll show you in just a moment. So this is a map of the lands, and I'll just to kind of zoom you in, so I'll help you orient. So at the top of the screen, that's the north end abutting Montana de Oro. So that's closest to Los Osos. And you'll see in yellow there the Point Bouchon Trail that maybe some of you have hiked and gotten to enjoy. So that's the beginning of this planning project. That's called the North Ranch, and that goes inland and northeast of the power plant. And then down south from there, you'll see the South Ranch area. And this goes from the power plant all the way down to the lighthouse and includes the current managed Pacho Coast Trail. And then the third area that's also being planned is down in the lower right, and that's inland from Port San Luis and Avila Beach and is called the Wild Cherry Canyon area. Again, you may be familiar with all these areas, but I like to orient everyone so you have a sense of what we're talking about. So this process looks at those three main areas, and there's different time horizons for all of them. What this project does not do is look at Parcel P, or the area directly surrounding the Diablo Canyon power plant. So the state has a separate office, the GoBiz office, that's working with local, I think through Cal Poly and Reach, they're looking at this area and others for potential reuse and kind of the future of the lands in that area. So that's separate from this process. And when we talk about this planning effort, I already mentioned broadly, it's looking at the future uses and conservation and access of the lands. But how do we go about doing that? So the project started off with looking at, there's many decades of conversations around the lands and studies into the lands. So part of the process has been looking at and compiling all of those past studies that relate to characterizing the lands, getting to know the natural and biological cultural, tribal resources throughout the area. And in that way, trying to get a sense of the existing conditions. Um, Another big aspect of the project is partnering with tribes, as I mentioned. And so that's a huge level of effort to make sure that that's done well and that the tribes who want to be consulted are. Another large arm is community engagement. So you're part of the beginnings of that, and that's going to be unfolding over the years to come. And all of this guides towards then looking at and recommending and facilitating what's that long-term ownership and management of the lands and drafting up easements that can support that future conservation, protection, and or access. So many conversations to come over the years. And then, as I said, I kind of want to make a distinction about what this is not. So this slide is about what we're not doing. So there are conversations, there's probably more than what I'm thinking of, but some conversations around plant operations, some around eventual decommissioning and reuse, some around the economic needs of our community and the transition. This project is separate from those. Again, it's looking at conservation and land stewardship of the lands outside of the power plant area. So adjacent and surrounding those areas. It's a multi-year project, and that's really to allow enough space for community engagement and adequate study so that the state can understand what's needed and what the community wants to see. So the project may go all the way till 2029, just depending on what's really going to best serve the project. But what I wanted to point out is, in this year, we're really focused on, like I said, setting the foundation. So they're doing things like an existing conditions report to understand what we do know about the lands, looking at potential policy review. So what might relate to these lands as we start to look at the future uses of those. And then, of course, as I'll get into, the tribal engagement, community engagement is really kicking off. And then even starting to talk about Wild Cherry Canyon acquisition planning, since that can happen nearer term than the other parts of the property. Ultimately, I think, this probably doesn't sound as exciting until you think about where could this land. So ultimately, they're looking at planning for and recommending, as I mentioned, what's the right balance of conservation, public access, and or protection of certain areas, drafting easements that would make that possible, and then drafting kind of ownership management plan that could support that best moving forward. So who's involved? Tribes, as I mentioned, are really central to the conversation. So the state, working with the consulting tribes, selected a liaison. So they're doing a lot of deep work at looking at land back opportunities, but also really just what are the priorities, concerns, and needs of the various tribes involved in the process. We also have a community work group. So that's one of my primary roles, is facilitating that group. This is made of 18 local professionals, local tribal reps, and community members, and elected officials or their representatives. And they're bringing expertise in conservation, natural resource planning, land management, and other topics. So they're helping to give us early insights as we're drafting up studies or seeing if we've missed major data sets. And they're also, like all of you, deeply connected with the community. So they're helping us spread the word into areas that maybe I don't have close contacts with. So they've been really helpful. And then really important to the process is community engagement. So as I mentioned, it's going to be launching in September, but that's just the first of various engagement efforts they foresee over the coming years. So we'll have workshops, can do pop-up events at, doing tabling where the communities are already gathering. There's a website, which I dropped in the chat. So you can explore around and start looking through what's on there. And then in the future, that'll just continue to grow with information available for you to look at. The whole idea behind the community engagement, the state really sees this as a regional resource. And so they're hoping to bring in people throughout the whole region who want to be a part of the conversation, get informed, learn about the lands, and then also for us to be listening and learning. I think many throughout the community have been involved for many decades, and so there's a lot to be learned too in the conversations coming. And that brings me to the next step and why I'm here today out of all the days I could be. So we wanted to plan it just right, where you've got about a month to put this in your calendars and hopefully attend. Our first community workshop is going to be September 23rd. from 4 to 7 at Slow Library. None of you need to be there for 3 hours. I do, but you can just come anytime during there. It's open house style. So come and go at your leisure or and share with your neighbors and community members. Um, You'll have some tables you can walk around, see maps of the project. Our technical team will be there and able to respond to questions. The state reps will be there, so you can talk to them as well. And all we ask you to do is to RSVP, and that'll help us get a sense of how many people are coming, so we can plan accordingly. And if you have any Spanish speaking needs or know people who do, when they RSVP, you can also indicate that, and that'll make sure that we have resources to support people in that conversation. My last plug that is not on the slide is when you're on the website, even if you can't attend that first event, sign up for our email list. That way, when we start planning out the other events, maybe along the coast and other areas, you can stay informed and hopefully show up at those as well. And that is all I have for you. I wanted to keep it brief, but happy to answer questions or take questions back to our team.
Carolyn, thank you so much for that presentation. Very interesting. So I have a question.
Sure.
Who owns the North Ranch right now? Who actually owns it?
I'm trying to
Is
think if
it
it's PG&E or their subsidiary, but I think it's PG&E. Yeah, thank you, Tim.
okay? So what we're talking about is planning for when PG&E transfers the property, all of that land over to question mark. We don't know
Yes,
who's going to take it.
correct. Yeah, and the coastal, separate from this project, the Coastal Commission, as they were considering the relicensing efforts last fall and winter, their mitigation package had pretty specific considerations for um, near-term transfer of North Ranch and also Wild Cherry Canyon with some stipulations on who that could go to. There's kind of some, I think North Ranch, they indicated state parks in their mitigation package, but also left it open to other agencies or organizations depending on the needs. So it is, yes, to your point, it's an open question on who that will be and when that will happen. But there is some indications with some of Coastal Commission's separate process that indicated what they would hope to see for the future of the lands.
Okay, so like part of it could be taken over by a tribe and part of it could be with state parks. And I mean,
Yeah. There could be
it
different
could be
ownerships on
carved
the
up. It
different
doesn't have
lands.
to be one piece in that way, right?
Right. And the different lands are also on different timelines. Like from what I understand, the South Ranch is on a longer term timeline in terms of a transfer. Whereas Wild Cherry Canyon, the inland area I showed, could happen sooner. And then North Ranch as well. Those ones had a bit of a earlier time frame that they could move forward. But Wild Cherry Canyon being soonest, and as you said, could be different ownerships, different managed use styles across those lands. So all of that is still on the table as far as I understand. Yeah.
Sure, that makes sense because
Mhm.
North Ranch, of course, being the one closest to us, also touches on Montana de Oro State Park, where we have our
Mhm.
trails, horseback riding, biking, hiking, all of that. So
Mhm.
people would love to do more than just that Point Bouchon trail. So, okay, great. I know I see a lot of hands up. So, Molly, go ahead. I saw your hand up.
Okay, I just have a quick question. Are all these lands you were showing us, these parcels, are they all currently owned by PG&E? That's being
There are,
made
like I
possible?
mentioned, some are PG&E and some are their subsidiary Eureka Energy, I think, if I'm getting that right,
Mhm.
um,
Okay,
under the same umbrellas of
okay,
yeah,
yeah, okay, thank
Layton.
you. That's all I
Yeah.
had.
Okay,
So,
Andrea.
Um, hey, Carolyn, it's nice to see you.
yeah, great to see
Um,
you.
the community work, the community work group. I just took a look at the website real quickly and saw who's on that. Kind of interesting group. A lot of people that have been involved with the North Ranch, South Ranch project that was happening a few years ago. Um, is their purpose to be the kind of the in-between group that takes the engagement and then makes a recommendation, or what is their, you kind of explained it, you did explain it. I'm just curious about, are they in a decision-making or advisory type capacity?
They're I wouldn't characterize it as either, which is very unsatisfying, I know, of an answer, but certainly not decision making. That falls to State Coastal Conservancy at the end of the day. But and they're not in a formal advisory, but they're helping us. It's more they're more like in between in terms of when we leave the workshop in September, we'll compile what have we been hearing from the community at that, and then we might go ask them questions because they have diverse perspectives and backgrounds. We'll go to them to ask into it and find out, what do they see that we're not seeing, and um, if they're and kind of get them debating things together. I imagine we won't have the public all asking for the same things, right? And so this group's meant to help us flesh out what are different options for addressing the things that come up with the community. But then I'd see us circling back with the community again. So it's going to be an iterative process. So again, I know not satisfying, but they're kind of just helping us think through things along the way and really get robust minds on the process.
That was a satisfying answer. I appreciate
Okay.
that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned pop-ups, and I'm not exactly sure what you meant by that, but I just want to mention to you that in October, we have an event here called Oktoberfest, where a lot of people come in, and it's a day-long event with tables. And if you wanted to have a table at Oktoberfest and talk about this planning and engage with the community in a live venue, then just let me know because I can set that up for you.
Oh, great. Is the date already set for that?
Yeah, I can tell you what the date is. Give me just a sec while I look it
Amazing.
up.
Okay. No, that's amazing. Yeah, all that's helpful. I know one of our community work group members, Celeste Royer, was telling us there's like Latino Heritage is having this big event in North County, I believe in September. So yeah, we're trying to find where are those good settings.
Yeah,
And Los
so
Osos will
this
make that
event is
especially.
obviously it's in October. It'll be
Mhm.
October 25th, which is a Sunday, and we
Okay.
take over the whole street down in Baywood, and it goes on all day, and it's a huge party, and a lot of people come.
That was so fun. All right. Well,
Yeah, and
thank
I
you. Yeah,
think
I'll talk to
state
the team.
parks often has a table there, actually.
Okay.
So can
Great.
maybe check into that. But
Okay.
if you're interested, let me know. And it's a chamber event, and LOCAC is a member of the chamber, so we can get you hooked up.
Awesome. Thank you. And I should mention on that, I don't think I talked about it in the stakeholders I mentioned that are being engaged. State Coastal Conservancy also has an interagency group where they're connecting with key agencies that surround and relate to the lands, like the county when they were doing decommissioning conversations, or Coastal Commission, um, and state parks and others. So there is another process trying to make sure that the different agencies are aware of each other and what's happening. And I don't think I mentioned that.
That's always a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Um,
right. Any other
I
questions?
have one.
Okay. John, go for it.
Thank you. So I'm a little confused about the North Ranch because I remember when the news came out about uh, I don't know, 6, 8 months ago, that
mhm.
the Coastal Commission made it very clear, and I think I'm quoting them, that the transfer to the state of the North Ranch was going to be near term, very soon. So I've been waiting to see when they would actually acquire it, start having planning to connect Montaña de Oro to the North Ranch, and I thought that was pretty much a done deal. So where did I go wrong on that? That's the first question. Second of all, I'm not sure where your report is going to be submitted to when you're done with your community outreach, and who the decision maker will be.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you. Great questions. The North Ranch, I'll be honest, I also get turned around when I'm reading through the mitigation package, and I think your understanding of it makes sense. I'm just looking at our project manager at the state had sent me over his synopsis of it, and it says that it talked about the transfer within 18 months of license approval by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, could be transferred to an entity, but that is, I think it's dependent on having a willing entity to accept that. So I know those conversations are still happening. My understanding is it's certainly not a done deal. Um, but the status, I think we'd have to check in on where that's at and what the current, like, most realistic timeline is, but I don't have a sense of that. It's a great question. And where the final recommendations are submitted to, those would eventually ultimately go to the State Coastal Conservancy. Um, I'm going to call it board. I'm not sure if that's the right. I'm sorry, I'm like blanking on what they call their decision-making body, but eventually it would land at them. But my understanding from State Coastal Conservancy staff is they hope for such a robust community effort and tribal engagement effort that by the time it lands there, there's a lot of buy-in from the region to the process. So it's a decision that the state would ultimately make, but the hope is that the community really buys into where it lands at the end of the day.
But is the commission you're talking about in any way publicly elected officials, or who are those folks
Yeah,
that you're reporting to?
yeah, they are. I was just going to pull it up so you can check out State Coastal Conservancy. They are a public entity, so it's a state department, and then their board. I'll have to find out who's made up on it. And as you're continuing your meeting, I can also drop it in the chat, but they have elected officials on their board, and you can watch their meetings. So it is a publicly accessible venue that you can participate in when it gets to that stage. Here you go. I'll drop this in the chat, but they are public meetings. I've only attended one virtually in the past, but they
All
move them
right.
around the state too to try to make them more accessible.
Just give you
Oh,
just a little bit,
thank you.
if I could, and Madam Chair, if you indulge
Of
me.
course, go
The
right ahead.
the State Coastal Conservancy is a sister agency to the Coastal Commission. And the role of the Conservancy is to funnel money into land conservation. And they have done extraordinary work in San Luis Obispo County. They're right in the middle of the Hearst Ranch conservation deal, Estero Bluffs, Harmony Headlands. In the list goes on and on and on. And so their board, if I remember correctly, some or all of them are appointed by the governor, some may be appointed by the legislature, but they're in charge of delivering funding into projects as opposed to the Coastal Commission regulating. And so I think the purpose of this effort is to make sure when they come to be making, and Senator Laird got $160 million, I believe, directed toward the Conservancy to be part of the conservation of Diablo lands at whatever time. So I haven't had direct conversation more than a couple of email exchanges with Carolyn, but I think the goal of this enterprise is to give the Coastal Conservancy, when it makes its decision as to who gets the money to do what, that they have a strong sense of the community and issues like tribal participation, what kind of resources need to be conserved, what kind of public access needs to be provided, and all those kinds of things.
Okay, thank you.
Great,
You know,
great.
Deborah, I
Go
can
ahead.
follow up real quickly. So there's 4 public members, 2 are appointed by the governor, 1 by the Senate Rules Committee, and 1 by the Speaker of the Assembly. And then there's three state officials, the Secretary for Natural Resources, Director of the Department of Finance, and the Chair of the Coastal Commission.
All right.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Really huge project. Thank you, Carolyn, for stepping up and being an integral part of that. We're, of course, very interested in this property and look forward to hearing more. And John, I just want to mention to you, because you're not using your digital hand, I don't see you necessarily when you raise your hand, because if your little picture is not in front of me, so just speak up like you have
Okay,
to let me know that you're raising your hand, because if you're not on my screen, if you raise your little digital hand, then you pop up to the front of the line.
I'll raise my voice. Thank you.
Raise your voice, sir. Raise your voice. Okay. Just wanted to let you know that. All right.
Thank you.
You're so welcome,
Thanks,
Carolyn.
Carolyn.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So we'll move on then to committee reports. David, do you have our treasury report?
Yeah, so this is my first report as the new treasurer. So Deborah and I went over to American Riviera Bank and spent some time transferring everything into my name. There hasn't been a lot of transactions. We now have $2,917.43 in the bank account. I think the only, I mean, there's a recurring $10 a month thing for Zoom calls, and then I see there's past checks that Jim Stanfield had done that I'm not sure quite what they're for, but that's the report.
Good
Okay.
enough.
Any questions for David? All right. Jim is not here, but Molly is here for land use. I don't think you have any items. Do you, Molly? Do you have anything to report?
No, we don't have any items. We did not have a meeting last month. And
Okay.
this month we're going to be changing the meeting date because the normal meeting, or sorry, next month, September, we're going to change the date to be determined, but because of the regular meeting falling on the holiday of it's Labor Day.
Got it. Okay. Very good. Tree and landscape.
Just plugging forward on the project by the skate park. Really nothing new on that at this point.
Okie dokie. So then I'll do my transportation report. I always like to do a little show and tell for our meeting. I'm going to share. Oh, wait, I can't share that. I have to go find it. There it is. Now let's see if I can share. Let's look over here. So we did a whole meeting on e-bikes. We feel like in Los Osos, e-bikes are pretty popular. They're going to get more so. We think that safety is a real issue. These are some resources I got from a webinar I did with the Office of Traffic Safety, which is a California state organization. The County of San Mateo put together an e-bike handbook, which I now have access to. And then they also shared some YouTube videos. Here's e-bike for the holidays, how to buy smart and ride legal. It's especially good for parents who are thinking about buying bikes for their kids, e-bikes. And then here was another one. This was from Sonoma County Safe Routes to School program, did a YouTube video on a parent's guide to e-bike safety for youth. These are great videos. I think there's even more out there if you really wanted to get into it. And then here is a fun one. Oops. That's not what I wanted. This is called Pedal Ace. It's a certification, an online e-bike safety course where you get a little certificate of completion. There's a cost involved for this, but there's just a lot of resources out there for getting our kids onto bikes safely and having them know how to be out on the street and, the rules of the road and all that kind of thing. My goal right now, along with the Transportation Committee, is to bring together all the stakeholders. That would be the sheriff, public health, SLOCOG, the school district, and pull together these resources in a way that we could get them out to the schools, get them out to where the kids are, so they can start participating in these courses, get the parents the links to these videos so they can learn. There's like 3 different classifications of these bikes. Some of them you can ride on sidewalks, some of them you can't, some of them you are not legal. And so there's just a lot here. I really love the fact that Sonoma and San Mateo County took the lead and put together some of these resources for their counties. I'd like to see that happen here. We're only going to see more of these. And if anybody reads the news, you know that the incidence of traumatic brain injury is up as a result of um, these. Well, I'm going to stop share. As a result of these bikes. So that's where transportation's going. We're all in and trying to pull together all the resources so we can get information out there for um, the members of our community. Los Osos is perfect for biking, whether it's your regular old-fashioned bike or e-biking, because it's beautiful, the weather's great. We have, Montana de Oro just down the road. So we feel like we should take the lead. Any questions? Okay. Well, uh, I think we're to the end of our meeting then. So, oh no,
Oh.
wait a minute. Almost to the end. We have a business item to discuss. I do want to say one more thing. I see Casey's here. Before I close my meeting on transportation, we have been meeting with the county on parking down in Baywood. Casey is with the farmers market, and we're looking at ways to accommodate additional parking and also expand the farmers market down in Baywood. And that's because with this project going in on Second Street and Santa Maria, we're going to lose some parking spaces, and we're going to lose, the farmers market's going to lose some spaces. So we're looking at some alternatives. I've asked the county to consider putting in a special parking district for Baywood and be proactive on some of these parking issues for our community. So just a little shout out about that. Casey, if you wanted to say something, you could do that now. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to our website.
I just wanted to say thank you for filling everyone in on the situation. We're still just exploring options, but thank you for having me.
You bet. And if you want to get on the agenda, Casey, just let me know and I'll put you on as an agenda item and you can do a little presentation about what you're thinking and what might be a solution.
Perfect. I will let you know when I get to that point. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. All righty. So now let's go to the website. And Alex, you know what? I'm going to make you co-host so you can bring up.
I don't think it's needed, Deb, unless you want me to show the same thing again. But the update on mine is it'll be live. It'll be live within, I don't know, I can get it up within a few days. Give me through by the end of the week, it'll be live. And then I'll let you guys know. I'll send the email to everyone so you can see it live in production. Click around, make sure the links work. I have the information from all of the committees. We reviewed the design 2 weeks ago, and once it's there and functioning, we'll put it to use.
The question I have, Alex, is who's going to update it? Because land use, like already, if we were to pull it up, let's pull it up. Let's see if I can pull it up. I think I can. All right. So let me go back.
Deborah, while you're working on that, Alex, are the links to the individual meetings, are those going to be updated only because specifically the tree and landscape link that's on the existing website does not work? So I'm just curious, are those all going to be fixed? Is that something that you're also working on?
No. The chair lead that I would need the leaders of those respective divisions to kind of let me know what the appropriate links are. If the link is right on the website, that is the link that I will transfer over. If you need helping,
yeah, we can talk offline. Yeah,
I can poke around. But no, one's a copy paste job. The other one is like, figure out the log. I'm happy to do both, but just let me know.
We'll chat. Yeah, it mysteriously stopped working about a month ago, so we'll figure it out.
Yeah, these are the kinds of things that I want. We may have a few bugs in the system when we do the transfer over. But here's one of, I think, for me, is one of the biggest issues. Is so here's land use. This is what we're reviewing right now. Actually, this is already out of date. So who would be the person who is going to enter the latest information for land use? It's the one, that is more time sensitive, if you will, because it's something that you're actually reviewing at the committee level. Is it going to be you, Alex, or is it going to be Molly or Jim of land use? Are they going to be the ones putting the information in? Because we want to make sure we have that
Ideally, no
figured out.
one. Ideally, neither of us. So Jim, I was under the impression that Jim receives an email, or he is included on an email that says what is being discussed and what is being looked at. I haven't
Yeah.
seen a copy of that email. Once I get a copy of that email, the action, hopefully, in my ideal scenario, would be that email is being forward. Nothing more than just forwarding along will, knock down the dominoes that it creates an updated public website.
So we would forward it to you.
Maybe it's to me, maybe it's to abc123@locac.com. I'm not sure. Yeah, it might be
Okay.
automated. It might just be an inbox that exists but isn't me.
Okay. All right. So,
But I need to see one, and I haven't seen one. So I know he's not here, but
right, he's not here. But Molly could send you one. Molly, can you forward him an email from the county that has a project? I mean, you just got one. You have one that you're going to be reviewing in September, right?
Yeah.
Just
I can
send that
do
over to him. And so for transportation, are things
I mean,
like
it's
I
not,
could put up?
can I say something? So,
Sure.
I mean, I can probably talk offline with Alex about this, but just because we get something, there's times when it doesn't end up on our next agenda versus it does. The timing's not always perfect. So if we're getting something from the county and then it goes right to here saying we're working on this project, well, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be on the next meeting agenda.
once we've established the flow of information, we'll figure out what gets distributed, how, when, tagged, what is actually important, what is just. But we would need to spend a few hours together, probably. But
yeah,
I would just. I am more of the approach, and I'm happy to take a step back, but I'm more of the approach like, let's just get this out there, start poking stuff, seeing what breaks, and then we'll figure out the final solution. Or otherwise, we'll just be polishing this thing for a decade.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. I'll
I
send
like that approach.
kind of a test email thing and see how it goes.
And those are just ideas. We might figure out that's like, hey, that's not, but we'll figure it out. I have no doubt we can't solve this problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So same with transportation. I would just have, for instance, I could be putting in some of these resources I showed you tonight, like the YouTube videos and the handbook that could be accessible on our website as resources, since that's what we discussed in our committee, right?
Absolutely. We could make it as the solution would be dependent on how dynamic you like. If you were like, hey, I want to update this nightly, that solution would be very different than I'm only going to update this once every 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. And one may be worth the squeeze, the other maybe not. So once it's live, I think once it's live, it would be great from at that point. Then we get to the world of, it would be nice if I could just XYZ. And then we just start putting these on a list, and slowly but surely we'll get there. Some may be impossible. Some may seem really simple and just not be worth the effort at all. But I think, it'll be an improvement, hopefully. And I think there's like, not the tangent into a larger conversation, but there is so much collective knowledge that is clear when issues come up, and references were even made on this call when someone was like, oh, that's been around longer than someone's even been alive. So it's like there's all of this knowledge that I think for myself, someone who's just joined, is overwhelming, and I don't even really know where to get that context. And I think it would be really beneficial, and maybe this is part of the project, maybe this is not, maybe this is just a pipe dream, but it's how does that context get transferred down, ultimately not just to me, but to the community, right? And I think that isn't that kind of the point, is just, insight onto what is being considered or being done. So Yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
the point is I can get this live relatively quickly, and then I would just need to work closely with the people who are using it to understand how you want it to change. Best
Yeah.
work for you.
Yeah. I think, I mean, the issue that I think comes up is who is responsible for each page, and it's responsible not only for putting things up, but also taking things down, because
Yeah.
someone will put up a notice of some event, and then at some point it becomes moot. And the question is, someone, does a person who puts something up, do they have the responsibility for taking it down? Because sometimes you feel uncomfortable taking down something someone else has put up without, so I think there needs to be some sort of rules about who's responsible for what page and who should write and when, or there at least a
And I
process
think
for doing that.
I agree with you 100%. And I think the beautiful part of the world we live in now is that's relatively easy to just automate with, like, we could just dream about, like, well, it would be nice if after 45 days it deleted itself auto. Like, we can dream up any scenario to avoid stale content. Any rules, we can dream them up and we can get them working relatively easily. Just with AI.
I think it only makes sense for the chairs of the committee to make sure that their pages, their information is up to date.
Yep.
Whether it's taking stuff off or putting stuff on. It's really, I know my transportation stuff. Andrea knows her tree. John knows the tree stuff, and so forth. And so they're the most logical people to check and see. And then whatever the process is for, cleaning it up or updating it, then, the process is whatever it is. What I have more questions about and I want to discuss is, um, here we have the map and the districts, which I think is really important. Where are we going to put the representatives and their bios? Because that's one thing we do not have on our current website. And I think it is important to identify who we are, what district we represent, how you can contact us, and kind of what our focus is. So if you want to talk about e-bikes, you can contact me. Or if you live in District 4 and you have an issue, you can contact me. And that information should be easy. So is it on this page, the About page, or is it on the committee page, or is it some other page like Contact? So, I just want you guys to think about that because for me, one of the benefits of doing this new website is that we're going to have information about who do you call? Do you call Deborah Howe to talk about, a road safety issue? Or are you going to call Andrea about a tree issue? Or like, how do you contact these people and where do you find them on the website? So where do you think is the most appropriate place for us to be putting this uh, information? Like here with the districts?
Maybe at the beginning, when somebody pulls up
On the homepage?
on the homepage, like to me on the homepage, the most important things would be like how to contact a particular person and also how to get on a meeting. Those are to me, are the ones that the public is probably going to potentially use the most.
Yeah, at the moment on the About LOCAC page, we have the districts, and then we have the members for each district, and then their bios are there, but you have to click on their names to expand to get people's bios.
Yeah.
The contact information is on the contact page. Is the way we have it now.
Yeah, I think it needs to be together.
But I don't think that the average person is going to go and look around at a map to figure out which person they should talk to. I wonder if the contact could be more based on which area of, you're working in terms of your committee or something. Because I think looking first the public to come and look at the map and say, oh, well, my person is on this street, so I should contact them. I just don't think people are going to have the patience to do that. The public.
So if you clicked on this, then you could have all of every representative listed here.
Or
Click.
just the people who are the head of the different committees, even. if you have a concern about transportation, contact this person, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, every single council member works on a committee, so they should
Yeah.
all be,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Maybe you could just list them by committee. These people are in this committee, list your different committees. What do we have? 4?
Mhm. But I do think we should we should also be connected to our district because, and I'm going to tell you why, when it comes time to elect people, we should know what's our district, who's up for reelection, who's gonna, who's running against them. Like this is an area that's really weak for
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
bringing new people in, and mainly it's because they don't even know what district they're in.
Yeah.
Tom, you have a comment?
Yeah, this is something the CSD is looking into as well. So I'm wanted to float the idea to LOCAC as well. Is there a need to be separated into districts? If everything is at large, it could you can get a bigger group of people.
I don't know. We have that discussion. Uh, I know the CSD has 5 districts and we have 4. Like, I don't know why you have an
Right.
extra district, but it's the same area.
Right. But the districts are numbered. You're in one district for LOCAC, another district for CSD.
So maybe we need 5 districts. We'll get a couple additional council members. Something that we can talk, I mean, we can bring that up in a strategic planning meeting. So, but I just want to make sure that we're going to go live on this. We're going to go live in September. We're going to work out the kinks while it's live. We're just going to put up a disclaimer on the front page saying this is work in progress. And so, where we put stuff, I just wanted to have some understanding of where things are going to go and who wants to work on this with Alex. Because he's the newest council member here and he knows the least amount about what we do and what everybody's function is. So I think we need to have a little help in, making some of these decisions. Do I see any volunteers?
Yeah, I'd be happy to work with them, with
Okay,
Alex.
great.
Yay, David.
And David, you were talking earlier about you were getting together with all of the other advisory councils.
Yeah.
That's cool. Let me know how I can help you with that as well.
Okay.
So, how fitting.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to be a part of that group. David, Alex, the 3 of us will come together. We'll try to put together our best first effort at going live. And then as soon as we do that, we're going to let the council members know, okay, we're live now. Go check it out and then give us your feedback, so that we can make it the very, very best. I mean, I think it's beautiful. I love, a lot of what's already here.
It's gonna change a lot. Like
Yeah,
the direction. Like this is just a quick early draft generated by AI. It's like once we put things through the paces, like things will change. But directionally, you get the look, feel. Don't fall in love with anything because nothing will be exactly the same.
I like the clean look of it.
It'll be clean. That I
Yeah,
guarantee.
yeah,
It'll be
that's
clean.
nice.
well said, Alex. Well, you're a hero for taking this on. It's not a project that anybody else would have accepted. So we appreciate you so much doing that.
We'll see.
So,
I
any
appreciate
other
it.
issues you want to bring up about the website? Now's the time. I'm going to stop share.
No, just that larger thing that I said earlier about, yeah, it's just updating context and sharing what is, decades of knowledge to, someone who's maybe only 22 years old.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting problem to think about and solve. So, but yeah, no other comment than that. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm I'm glad it's helpful and appreciated. So always makes it more fun.
Very much. And I like to call that information you're talking about tribal knowledge.
For sure.
It's that it gets passed down. And, Bruce, we're going to miss you because you have decades of tribal knowledge. So we might have to pick your brain at some point. So, all right, everybody. I think that is actually it. We can adjourn unless anybody has a question or a comment. And I don't see any, so thank you so much for
Thank you.
attending.
Good night,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, Deborah.
Bye.
See you
Bye
soon.
now.
Bye-bye.